All right, welcome to another Monday morning meetup. Good to see everyone here. Michelle, how did things work out for you? Michelle runs in LA. I'm going to ask you to unmute real quick if you don't mind. Let's see.
I just checked on it. It's still at the post office, according to what's the tracking shows. So hopefully you'll be out today.
Okay, all right. Good old post office, right? I mean,
yeah,
they can get it to you when they say they're going to get it to you. They said Saturday, so.
Exactly. So probably today or tomorrow.
There you go. Well, at
today,
least it's in LA now, right? It's
right.
a little bit closer. It's on the other coast. So.
Exactly.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Michelle was one of our winners at KCF Live. She actually won a laptop computer. So big hands up to her there. All right. Congrats on that. So today's going to be a very quick episode. We're going to jump right into it. Caroline, if you're on, let me know if you're on. I don't think I see you, but I'm going to start it. So I want to welcome everyone to the Monday Morning Meetup. As you guys know, our goal here is to bring you the best information, the best guests, and the best resources to take your lives, not only your business life, your personal life, but your relationship life, your financial life, to the next level as much as we possibly can. So with that said, today will be no different. Today, Caroline and I are going to do something a little bit different. So normally on Wednesdays, we'll have a guest, right? So since I won't be here on Monday, we're going to shift our guest to Monday. And today you're stuck with me and Caroline. All right, so there we go. We're actually going to talk about the importance of moving to the next level, right? The importance of dreaming big. We talked about David Schwartz's book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Who here has gotten that book, or who here has read that or listened to that book?
What happened?
There we go. Uh-oh, someone says, I see Darlene. Darlene, I hear you, but does that mean that you read the book, or that you listened to the book, or are you just unmuted by accident? I'm going to go back and mute you out. So
it was an accident. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. I'm going to mute you back out there. All right. So David Schwartz's The Magic of Thinking Big. Christine, I just saw where you had your hand waving there. So it's an amazing book there. If you guys have not picked it up, please go back and pick it up. I started revisiting this book again, almost by accident. I was scrolling through YouTube looking for something else. All right. I was actually looking for the book, The Power of Belief. And lo and behold, I saw this book, which is one of the books that really got me started along the path of personal development. Les Brown's initial book that I read way back then, right? And then I started to dive into more and more. And this is a book where I literally would listen to, man, I've probably listened to that book, I want to say 20 or 30 times. That book, the book, A Happy Pocket Full of Money, is another one where I've listened to it 20 or 30 times. And, you know, I've heard it just recently, maybe about a year or two, where someone super smart says, look, you can have a book that you can read, or you can read several books. You can read, 10, 20, 30 books a year, or you can find one really good book and read that book 5 or 10 times over, if it's really good and it really impacts your life. Atomic Habits is another book that's like that for me, right? So, Caroline, great afternoon, great morning, good to see you. I'm going to spotlight us both now that you are here.
Great day, great day, great day.
Right. So
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We were just talking about David Schwartz's book, The Magic of Thinking Big. And I know that you have a quote from that book. Do you want to share it?
I do, yes.
Caroline's got her gum going on today. She's like, she's like Chris over there. Are you going to start blowing bubbles?
I wouldn't even attempt.
There you go.
Splat on the face. No, I've just got a mint that I was just I just literally parked the car 1 minute ago because I had my mum at an appointment. So I just carefully placed her in the sitting room because I haven't got time to get her home and give her a cup of tea. She's happy, so she's fine. Here we go. So thinking big, thinking big, thinking big. Okay, yeah. So this is a quote from David J. Schwartz's The Magic of Thinking Big book that Ty's just been talking about. And there's actually two quotes that I that I like. I mean, there's many in this book. One of them is think more of yourself and there is more of you. So this is all about, you know, believing in yourself as an important first step. And a lot of people sometimes struggle with that when they're starting businesses. Starting anything that you're anxious about, just that belief in yourself. And he also quotes, when you really believe something can be done.
Yeah.
And that could be just because you've seen other people do it. Your mind goes to work for you and helps you find the ways to do it.
I like that.
Yeah, I love it. And then there's another one that I love, which is don't hog glory, invest it instead. In other words, share it with others. And, you know, don't go off and go crazy, just invest it back into your business as well. That sort of means two things for me.
I mean, there's so much that you get from that, right? I mean, reinvesting back in your business in the sense of financially, reinvesting back in your business in the sense of people, right? You're building a team, which is something that we're going to talk about today. Or reinvesting back in your business in a sense of loving and caring for it, because it is this thing that gives back to you, right? Like, I'll give you an example here in my family. My wife and my daughters, they like brands. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? So every once in a while, I'll wear brands as well and things like that. But I'm also like, why the hell don't you wear like the Kindle Cashflow brand? Like, and I'm just wear your own brand, like, right? Care and love for your brand, and you'll see where there's this like reciprocation that takes place, right? Care and love for your thing, your business, and your business will care and love back for you. And I say that with them jokingly sometimes, but sometimes I'm also like 100% into it. I'm like, Gucci, Louis, and Fendi, and all of the other brands, Nike, they don't do jack for you, right? But your own brand does. So put more emphasis into that stuff. And then you could like put 90% of your emphasis into your own brand, and then you can put 10% emphasis into your own brand.
It's true, isn't it? And Donatella Versace would never be walking around with Gucci on. She's always going to be walking around with the belt, the jeans, looking amazing. Well, body-wise. I'm not sure about what's going on other than that. But yeah, it's true, isn't it? And I was thinking about that when Gabby, who's probably not here now because it's early hours where she isn't here. She sent me that picture that she did of me, and she did one for you as well, Ty. And she put a diamond on the top, which is the name of my business. And I thought, gosh, you know, I need to get some merch of my own. We're just merching my pen name actually at the moment. A few bookmarks, you know, readers are loving it. So it is about that, isn't it? It's about being your brand. And of course, we all should be wearing our Kindle Cashflow tops we say tops here, shirts, on the live event. So I need to send you my size because I've got some, but they're a little big. So I look like I'm wearing a tent.
There you go. Okay.
I need to get some fitted ones.
Send it over
isn't
ASAP
it?
so that we can get them out ASAP.
But Mel and Summer might have their own, you know, they might do their own, they want their own words or whatever on there, as well as the family business. But it's true, isn't it? Because you go for other people's brands and wearing them instead of, and we do that for, you know, just because sometimes we like brands. Indie loves brands. The girls don't care. I quite like them as well. So, but yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? I mean, look, you deserve to treat yourself. But I also think that, look, you start to embrace your business more, and whatever meaning that is to you, right? Talking about it more. Have you ever heard someone say, hey, listen, I've got this little business over here that I'm starting? Or, right, so they're downplaying their business. I've got this little business that I'm starting over here. Or I got this thing going over here. I've got this business and, you know, publishing books, and it's not doing much. And the voice, the inflection in their voice seems to even get higher when they talk about how little it's doing. It's not doing much, or it's not doing that well, or it's not, here's my favorite, it's not where I want it to be yet. And you're putting more emphasis on what you don't want versus what you do want, right? And it sometimes comes back to believing it so wholeheartedly that when you even talk about it, other people get excited about it. Because if you go in, you're like, hey, I got this little business over here. You know, I'm doing this thing part-time in between my job and I'm trying to figure it out. There's not much excitement that you're projecting to the other individuals that are listening. But if you're like, oh my God, I can't believe like I'm publishing these books, or I'm building up my business over here, and I can't wait to see what this thing is going to be like, because it's already surpassed my wildest dreams. And your wildest dreams could be you simply getting published, like you simply hitting the publish button on Amazon. You may never have thought that was possible before.
It's
right?
so true. Yeah, I mean, think about that. If someone said, we don't think about that, because when we start Kindle publishing, it's like a business, we're in a different mindset with it. It's like, I've got these goals and they tend to be financial for many people. But actually, if you actually told me that 5 years ago, I'd be able to publish over 100 books,
wow.
I would have never believed that.
Just thinking about hearing you say that sounds massive. But to you, it's reality. Like someone hearing you say, you go to your neighbors, look, I've got 100 books that I published. They're going to look at you as if you're superwoman, which you are, badass Cass, right? But they're looking at you like, and they'll probably ask you some questions like, what, you mean you just did it yourself? Or is it your company? Right? Who came up with you came up with the ideas, because it's so unbelievable to people. But to you, it's your everyday reality.
It is. And it's normal for us. You know, how many books have you published? Oh, you've only published 5. Get on with publishing more, you know. But it's back to that whole thing about where you are now in relation to where you were at your lowest point.
Yeah.
And when you do a lot of activity over a short period of time, it's madness to think that for many people in the community that are now getting thousands every month or hundreds every month and have published more than one book, they've done that in a really short space of time. You know, I spoke to people at the live event that they didn't know us until that live event the other weekend before, and they had taken like 5 years to get a book out that they were writing themselves. So just because of confidence and not thinking big and lots of different factors. So you just forget often when you're in the middle of it, you just forget how great it is until you look outside and talk to people. And then you realize how, you know, if people have published one series in 2 years, that's like huge. If you think about, would I have imagined myself doing that 5 years ago? Some people may be, because they've dreamt about doing that for years. A lot of people stumbled into the business like I did. I wasn't even thinking about it. I just thought, okay, that looks good. Let's do it. And so it's amazing. And it is that constant check-in about how far have I come from my lowest point, whether that was 6 months ago, last week, it doesn't matter, yesterday. It's huge, isn't it? And that helps you then to project bigger.
Yeah, how far have I come from my lowest point? Like, did you guys hear her? Like, think about like your lowest point. And it doesn't even have to be your lowest point in terms of publishing or in terms of business. It could be just your lowest point, a point where you were, maybe you got divorced, maybe you were at a point where you lost a house, or maybe you were at a point where you lost a loved one, or you had this diagnosis from a doctor, or whatever it may have been, right? Think about like your lowest point, and then now where you're at. And even if it's at a point where you're not publishing anything, or your business is not to the degree where you want it to be, you've still risen from that point that once was your lowest point. Barbara says this is Barbara down in Florida. She says she's getting my 6th and 7th books ready to publish. Like, look at that. Like, so even thinking about from like book number 1, even pre-book number 1, like it probably was such a daunting process, right? And just thinking about it and trying to get everything right and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And now you're getting book 6 and 7 right ready.
And a couple of months ago, I believe, I may be wrong, Barbara, just write down in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think you published a couple of books a few months ago. It feels like just a couple of months ago. It may be 4, you know, when we first met. And I'm not mentoring Barb, but I brought Barbara into the program, and there you go. So, you know, and it's back to that happiness survey that you were talking about last week. the
Yes.
week before. And also I was listening to some Joe Dispenza around this, and I think that also it's not just about the, you know, how far you've come from your lowest point. It's the fact that people tend to be happier for a number of reasons, and one of the biggest ones is going towards a goal and growing. And you know, they say that the endorphins that are released, I won't go into all the detail, but we know what those endorphins are equivalent to being on drugs, and the reason why people go to crack or something else, but without the repercussions, you know, because you know, your serotonin and all the other hormones that are released when you've got this sense of, oh, you know, I've got a book on Amazon today, or I've just done a great blurb, or I've just figured out some great keywords, and you wake up in the middle of the night excited. That is what leads to great health and happiness, along with obviously having nice people around you. And it's huge, isn't it? It's huge. So, you know, why not think bigger and bigger and bigger with whatever you're doing? Because then it can just get better and better.
I think that the importance is, you said something, right? Like when you've published your first book, or when you've gotten your first graphic, your first book cover back, or whatever it may be, you have like the endorphins are released, and we're just so excited. Sometimes you can't even sleep. Sometimes you can't think about anything else. I think the important thing is to never forget that feeling, because it's that feeling and that emotion that pushes you along. And then what happens is as we start to move further and further along, and it becomes this thing that we're doing, right, through repetition, we forget to include the feeling. And the feeling is one of the number one key components that got us to where we are, right? So sometimes you can go back and manufacture that feeling as well. Just taking a walk and just thinking about like all the things that you're grateful for, the people that are in your life, the events, the moments, the things that you've gone through, the hard times and the good times that you've gone through, right? And just being grateful. Oh my God. It sounds funny, but I told you guys, like back in 2000, I think it was like 2006 or so, we almost lost our very first house. But now I can go on a walk and I can do my gratitude sessions, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God we went through that. And we almost had this process where we lost our house, because now I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm looking at it from the perspective of, okay, the next time a hard time comes through, I can remember what it took for me to get past that hard time. I can remember what it took like for me to keep my family together. I can remember what it took for me to put in the work to dig us out of that. I can remember what it took for me to kind of level myself out stress-wise, so that I don't go into a sickle cell anemia crisis. Or so you have all of these memories that you can pull from. And if they're bad memories that you don't want, you can pull from the good times that you kind of switch those memories and were able to get to where you are now. All right. So it's so important not to forget like the emotions and the feeling that comes along with some of the stuff when we're starting to see the successes, and not to forget the small successes as well. Right. So,
yeah. And when I was driving, I was thinking about this whole getting bigger thing. And I think the other, there's this whole thing around that sort of belief, and you said something I just want to pick up on about, talking about not hogging the success. Sue and I were doing the roadmap last Friday for new FastPass people. It was a really lovely group. Patricia was there. I can't see everyone on the screen, but might be a few others that were there. And Maina as well. And one of the things that we're talking about is when something goes well, as it will, because you take for granted those little things every day that go really well. Oh my gosh, I found a great editor, or oh God, look at this cover. This cover is gorgeous. That's huge, and then just share that in the community, because that sharing of your success, well, we didn't quite go into it like this, but it will increase your energy around that good feeling of success. And whether it's a cover or whether it's 20 grand, there's not a lot of difference in terms of energy. But then what you'll do is you'll inspire people. So they're not just inspired by a few coaches that are doing a job in the community, that are, because there's loads of people that are really successful in the community, but you share what you've learned if something's gone well or if something hasn't, and say, guys, avoid doing this, you know, don't send out an email to your ARC saying you're all losers, why aren't you putting reviews on, you know, that sort of thing. So I've just done it, it's gone wrong. You know, just sharing what they've learned from and sharing the pieces along the way is massive, not the money, not just the money. And a lot of people don't want to share their money results. There's loads of people in that community with tens of thousands every month that don't share because they're private. So that is a big thing. So you help others, but you also help yourself by doing that. And one of the things that we did when we came in, I mean, Sue was more, I was quieter than Sue. I think she came in quite a bit before me, is she got involved in answering questions and that helped her learn. And she's great at answering questions and knowledge, because then she got more of her own knowledge from having to answer other questions and figure it out for others. So that's huge. We've all got lots of different ways that we can answer questions in the community. And if you don't get an answer to your question, you know, go and figure it out and then put the answer in there, because no doubt many other people would learn from it. So it's that collective success sharing and information sharing then that helps people grow and then gives you the confidence to get bigger. And that's huge. You know what I was thinking about in terms of getting bigger? I was thinking when I was driving a few minutes ago back, and I was just thinking that there's this thing about, obviously, when you start and you're growing, and obviously you know other people are going to help you. Looking at other people doing well is going to help. But also it's very easy, you know, when you get to a point to just not realize that you've sort of not got bigger or you're not growing in terms of business size. I don't mean in terms of personal development, because there's a stack of that around. We get that a couple of times a week on here. I'm talking about the actual business growth. And so to give you an example, and some other people might be experiencing this, my pen name's doing really, really well, taken a big hit from what happened in February. I mean, this hit, I worked it out because I had to get it out of my head and out of my energy, that it's probably cost me about 100 grand, this thing, not just in terms of the money, but in terms of everything that happened as a result of that. And I thought, there we go, because if I was bigger, it wouldn't have been so disastrous. It's impacted on the months to follow. So it's a great lesson. So then because I was spending quite a long time thinking, how am I going to get this pen name to 50 a month? This pen name, you know? One pen name. And it's doing really well anyway. And there's loads of stuff coming in for that one pen name. And I thought, what are you doing? It's like a lack of risk taking in a way. And I thought, it's sort of like having this amazing little restaurant that's really busy and great, but you sort of, maybe it's reached its potential because it's in one road and there's only a certain amount of people that will travel to this restaurant.
10 tables in there, 5 or 6 tables.
Yeah, you've got the knowledge and the capacity to expand it, or to buy some more buildings in different areas and build a, you know, major restaurant chain. And I thought, yeah, it's crazy. What, you know, it's the simple things when you're doing really well in your Kindle business. I tell you, it would be the simple things that get you there. Facebook ads, great book, you know, just the basics. You don't even need some of the other things that we get carried away with, for different promos and different things. And so if you can get something to 1,000, but probably, I don't know what the sweet spot is. I always say 5 to 10,000 is a good place, but you might disagree with that. Why would you not just go and repeat that process in the same genre, different, whatever you want to do? And
pick up more readers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's sort of like not investing your energy and your royalties properly. You'd sort of take out, invest back in to the same thing. And so I thought, sod it, I'm going to launch 4 pen names this year, you know, and that's what's happening, because I just realized I've been in that place of just being busy all the time. How can I figure out, how can I do better? And instead of actually thinking that's going well, you know.
And you know, that comes from like just being at this level of comfort. And we're all guilty of it, right? So being at this level of comfort, And if we simply just take a moment to reflect, right? So one of the things I'll do every quarter is I'll sit back and I'll think about what were some of the things that didn't go well for me in business. And I'm like, okay, we don't need to do that anymore. I was just talking to my Facebook ad team yesterday. There's some things that we don't need to do anymore because time has proven that they just don't work.
Well,
Tested them, we played with them, right? And it's fine to test and try different things out. But you can't keep repeating the same thing and expecting it to now work differently. Same exact thing, but you're expecting the curve to move up, right? And then the other thing that I do is I look at the things that have worked really well. Super simple. Like it doesn't take any extra brain power. It's just simply looking at the things that did not work. Okay, we need to eliminate those. What are the things that did work? Okay, we need to double, triple, quadruple down on these things. And it is super simple, but what it takes is you getting to some of the boring stuff sometimes. Sometimes that could be the boring stuff. The exciting thing could be, okay, what's next? Now, what can I do in my business? Instead of doing more of what has already worked. And the same applies to relationships. The same applies to your health. The same applies to just about everything. What's worked for me and my wife and my relationship? Okay, well, maybe, out of the blue, I got her some flowers on a Thursday just because. And then I get so comfortable with not doing that, right? Because things are great, but if I continue to do that, guess what happens? Things get even better. So this stuff can be applied to any area of your business, any area, right? So that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's interesting, but in order to get bigger, because you always say the bigger you get, the easier it gets.
The easier it gets, yeah.
Yeah. But in order to get bigger, because if you've done something once, you can just repeat it. But in order to get bigger, you then need to be really honest with yourself and say, what do I need to let go of?
What do you need to let go of? Who do I need to let go of? And why?
Yeah, that's tough. Because I've had to do that. That's tough. If you're a nice person, try and be a nice person. But also, what do I need to let go of in terms of bad habits? So I wrote down a ton of stuff, and I bet it will apply to other people as they're building as well. I have to get rid of my having to control everything and check everything. If someone has a typo somewhere, I'm not happy. And that is the way it used to be in the law firm. I was thinking about, why am I like that? Why I've got these eagle eyes, going to like hypertension if there's a mistake in my book. And I remember, I thought, where's that come from? Because I wasn't like that as a child, or even when I did my English degree. I was like always told for being, messy. And I thought that's because we're programmed. That's because I spent 13 years in a law firm. I had an amazing secretary, and she made some typos on a memo to a partner, my corporate partner, and I looked after the corporate department.
Right.
In terms of sort of their, or even when I did pitches and things. And anyway, she had this typo, and I was pulled into a room. You get rid of her. And I said, I'm not getting rid of her. She's brilliant. She's not brilliant. There's 2 typos in this memo. It's going to a partner that pays her wages, all of that. And I said, I'm not getting rid of her. Just give me a week. Give me a week to turn it around. Maybe it's attention to detail that needs to be improved, but she's amazing. She's the best secretary I've ever had. Anyway, he said, well, 1 week. And if I see it again anywhere from anyone coming out of your team, you go, she goes, they go. And I'm like, thanks.
So now did that condition you to go?
Yeah. So then everything.
So you see that?
Took like 3 times longer because of checking. I'm not saying you shouldn't proofread your books, because believe me, you should get someone to proofread your books. But that is where that's come from. So, you can spend so long, and I outsource loads, but I still have this, I'm too much in it, admin. And so that's what I have to let go of. I have to get less tight and outsource more to get bigger if I want to run 5 pen names.
But that never goes away. When I first started, that was, and guys, just in case, because we're about to close out in like 2 minutes, I just shared the Ghostwriter Agreement. that I promised you guys on Monday. So check in the chat box, click that link, and just go in and open it up right now before we close out. I've got to head out to the airport. So,
Yeah.
but no, so that never goes away. So I was the ultimate micromanager, and I still see myself to this day doing it at least to a lesser degree, right? Yesterday, there was something that I was working on, and I'm like, look, I should not be working on this right here. Let me pass it on to someone else. So I've challenged myself over the years to every time I start to dig these holes, these little holes, these things that are $5 an hour work, or $10 an hour work, or $20 an hour work, when I can take that same time and make $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $1,000 an hour, or $10,000 an hour, I have to give it to someone else. So that's how you guys have to start thinking about it. Look, am I doing, and just for simple math, we'll position it this way. Am I doing work that can generate me $5 an hour, where I can pass that off to someone else and pay them that $5 an hour? And now that frees up my time, and I can do $20 an hour work. Now I'm using super low numbers just so that it's clear, right? But hopefully that makes sense, right? So, and that's where once I got back, it totally changed things for my business to a degree, because now I realize, look, I only have 24 hours in a day. And although I think I'm Black Superman, there's still but so much that I can do. So it doesn't make sense for me to go in and put a dot on every single I, when I could be writing entire sentences and pay someone else $5, $2 an hour to put dots on those I's. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go pay someone $2 an hour. I'm just using these smaller numbers so that it just makes sense.
And play into your strengths as well, you know, because Sandy did this amazing training session with me on last week on formatting and Kindle Create and doing your formatting yourself. It's super cool. And I thought, right, I'm going to take that. I'm going to do all that myself. And I thought, you know what's going to happen? You're just going to add to the queue of work. Just let it go. Let it go. Let all these things go and do what you're good at. And that's ideas, implementing, managing people. That's what you used to do in the past. That's what you need to. So it's about playing to your strengths, but also playing to your strengths, but also knowing that you have to let go of the detail. Once you've built something, when you want to expand, you have to let it go. And the only way of doing that is to get people that do it better, faster, whatever, and invest to expand. Just like you need a building. If you open that second restaurant, you need to double your team up if you're going for a second pen name.
And believe it or not, there's people that actually love doing the stuff that you dislike doing. Like customer support, answering emails, right? When I first started my business, doing customer support, answering emails, responding to customer support tickets, I would let these things stack and stack and stack and stack, because it just wasn't something that was a strength of mine. And now I've got people that live for this stuff. I still can't believe it. I can't believe that there's people that actually love answering customer support emails and support tickets and really making people, but that's what it's all about. So
there's Sherry, she's just so
she's
positive and loves her role, and she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's incredible, right? So Sherry's been with me for like 13, 14 years. We're trying to figure out how long she's been around. But 14 years ago, and then Peter and Michelle, right? And everyone else that's on this customer support team, Des, who does support to a degree, like they absolutely fill in the blanks that I leave out. So that's what it is. It's finding someone that fills in the blanks. And the cool thing about this, look, when I first hired Sherry, now she's full-time now, right? And I've given her multiple raises because she's really good and she deserves it. But I hired her at like 5 hours a week. Like 5 hours a week. And it was something like $8 an hour at that time. So do you see that? So it was, what's that, $40. And then we've grown to the point where she's now full-time and she makes so much more than that now because the business is growing, right? Now she's able to help serve other people. And you guys go in, you submit a customer support ticket, either Sherry or Peter or Michelle or Des is right there. But I couldn't do that when I first started. So I think that's the thing is we have to recognize like where we're at and understand that, yes, I can go in, because the biggest part is trying to do everything on your own. Like, it is tough trying to do everything on your own. Whether you're, it just doesn't matter, right? It's just whether you're trying to write your books and handle customer support and marketing and everything else. But the best thing that you can realize is that if you come to the conclusion that, look, I can hire someone for 30, 40, 50 bucks a week because my business is not here yet. That's going to open you up to new skill sets and new possibilities and growth as well. So
yeah, initially get it done yourself, you know, you're learning and all the rest of it, but pretty soon as soon as you can do it, start to bring in some help. Because, you know, I said to the kids the other day, you know, that being clever doesn't make you rich, being smart makes you rich.
there you go.
And being clever, now the key is to be really smart and take smart actions every day. Because Ty Cohen doesn't have one pen name.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
It'd be disastrous, right? So unless it was like one, we're just having some fun with you guys. All right, guys, that's another episode of a Monday Morning Meetup. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Hopefully you got some value. It's beautiful seeing more and more people on this thing all the time. Good to see the repeat offenders that are now part of, I call you guys the repeat offenders, Jenny. How does that sound there, right? 89
offenders.
Right, I see Marlene over there cracking up. So look, guys, we're part of a 3%. The Monday Morning Meetup group is part of a 3%, right? Jim Rohn talks about walk away from the 97% that won't do the things that they need to do, right? They won't eat a good apple for their health. They won't work on their business. They won't take a walk around the block, right? But the 3% knows what they should do and they will do it, and they're great at discipline, right? Discipline, doing the things that you know you should do, even when you don't feel like doing them. Like right now, I don't feel like ending this, but if I don't, my wife
You're going to get killed.
So, all right,
and you'll
guys,
miss the play.
have a good one. We'll see you.
We'll see you Wednesday, Ty.
Go put in, we'll see you Wednesday, right? I'll see you guys next week. So please, in the Facebook group, we kind of got away from this for a few episodes, but in the Facebook group, any Facebook group, it could be the Digital Wealth Creation Challenge group. It could be the Get It Done Micro Offers group. It could be the Kindle Cash Flow Mastermind group. It could be the Fast Pass group. Go put your biggest takeaway from today's episode. Please go share that right now and tag me and Caroline in it. Caroline's got this new Facebook ID. Right.
Yeah, no one's accepting my friend request because it's coming in as Desange. That's why I put 2 names there. But please, you know, I'm having to send 50 voicemails a day just to prove to people. Like,
so Greg, 2 things. Go tag Caroline and I and request her as a friend. You'll make her day. Oh, let's get her 50 new friend requests today. All right, guys, we'll see you.
Take care. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you all on Monday.
Right.
Ty, we'll see you Wednesday. We'll see you. I'll see you Monday.
You got a special guest that's coming up Monday, so it's gonna.
I have.
Right. All right. So there you go. And guys, if you're watching on YouTube, we're gonna start broadcasting. I think it'll be smart to start broadcasting on YouTube every Wednesday. I'll post the links to the Ghostwriter Agreement in the YouTube description. So we'll see you. Stay well. Bye bye.
Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend when it comes.